And we're going systematically one by one through the list of demons. On the first evening, of course, we had a general introduction, a little bit. And then, after that, we talked about Putana, who was the first demon who tried to kill Krishna and who Krishna killed. And then we spoke last night about Shakat Asura, the cart demon. And then Trinavarta, the whirlwind demon. So this evening we're going to talk about very, very important and very wonderful pastime. In terms of the anathas, then really the point here is that's talking about Nalakuvara and Manigriva. But in a little broader sense, this is all to do with the Damodar Leela, one of our favorite pastimes, pastime which every devotee loves. So let us talk about that this evening, or at least let us begin by talking about that. And as they say, the night is young. Let us see where it leads us. Who knows? We, in Mauritius, a few years ago, I suppose, 3 or 4 perhaps, something like that, we're having a Prabhupada night. So it started about 6 o'clock or 7, went on to about 9:30, and then the one devotee in charge stood up and said, okay, that's it, that's all, we're finished. And one of the devotees who was speaking in the Prabhupada night, the Prabhupada Katha, he protested, what? We're stopping now. It's not even 10 o'clock. I thought we were having a Prabhupada night. Not just a Prabhupada evening, but the whole night. Anyway, so let's see how we do. But this Damodar Leela, I suppose everyone here has at least heard of it. And many of you are at least somewhat familiar with the story, the basic story of how Lord Krishna was tied up by Mother Yashoda. The anatha, the unwanted thing, which this whole event represents, is the anatha, the obstacle of being too attached to money and comfort, and in that way becoming proud and thinking, I don't need God, I don't need Krishna, I have my credit card. However, my friend, when the Yamadutas come, don't just pull out your credit card and try and hide behind it. Or your bank statement, look at this, get back. It won't help. It won't help. So similarly, when it all comes to that extremely crucial and critical time, particularly the time of death, then we can only Krishna can help us. We can only take shelter of Krishna. Everything else is just, it can't help. So anyway, let us go through the pastime first. This pastime took place on the Diwali day. Yes. So we know when this pastime took place. And there's another fairly famous pastime which took place on the same day. That is the killing of Narakasura. Narakasura. It also happened on the Diwali day. So, and other things, Lord Ram returned and so on. So, Krishna killed Narakasura. Just like we said last night, Shakatasura. Asura, of course, means demon. Shakata, in Sanskrit means cat. In this case, Naraka, means hell. Asura, demon. Demon from hell. That was his name. Imagine if you had a name like that and people say, what's your name? Oh, I'm demon from hell. People would think about it. So anyway, what was happening? And Krishna now was a couple of years old, 2 or 3, around this sort of age. Little time has passed now since the Trinavarta pastime which we discussed last night. So Krishna was already getting a reputation for stealing butter. He had not started stealing clothes yet, but he was already stealing butter, and he was quite prolific. And he was really getting a name as Makan Chor, the butter thief, or Daki Chor, the yogurt thief. So he was getting a name. And Mother Yashoda was getting into anxiety. What am I going to do about this boy of mine? These are his formative years. Whatever he gets into now, then it's all going to be part of the foundation for his future. So, now he is stealing butter and yogurt. What may it lead to? In the future, he may steal motor cars or bullock carts or chariots. So she was really in anxiety that he's going to become some sort of antisocial person and a reject, a delinquent, a member of the Makan Mafia. And in the future, when he will undoubtedly get into big trouble with the law, then what are people going to say? They're going to say, what sort of mother did this person have? What useless type of mother was she? So Mother Yashoda was in some anxiety about these things. So what she did, she developed a special program. She went through Nanda Maharaj's herd of cows, 900,000, and inspected them all, and found several of them who were just the most healthy and just gave the most milk and the richest milk. And she set them aside. Then she went out and looked around Vraj Mandala to find the best grass. The best grass. And so she found in different places some of this special, lush, green, rich green grass. And what she would do then is keep those cows at home and go out and cut the grass herself, feed it to those several cows herself, milk them herself, and get this amazing amount of just very rich, full cream milk. It was practically just like cream. Make it into yogurt, and then make the yogurt into butter. So every day there are kilos of butter coming. And then she'd just go up to Krishna and say, here, take it. Just take it all and just eat it. Because you know that milk, that butter made from yogurt is white. It's white. And the butter made from cream, which is the butter we use in the Western world, unless you make your own, that's yellow. It's different. They're quite different products, actually. The milk, the butter made from yogurt is not as heavy and rich, or even overly rich, would you say, Doctor? If your cholesterol level is getting too low, eat a kilo of butter. So this is what she was doing. Feeding all that grass to all these special cows, milking them herself, making the milk into yogurt, making the yogurt into butter, and just giving Krishna every day kilos of this. Just take it and eat it. But then she'd go off and attend to different household duties, and she'd come back after 10 minutes, Krishna was not there. The big pile of butter is still there. He had eaten some, but he was gone. You know where he had gone? Stealing butter from the other houses. So Mother Yashoda developed a significant inferiority complex about her butter and about herself. What sort of mother am I? I've got this child, he's so beautiful and sweet, but he's wild. He's a criminal. He's terrible. What to do? She didn't know what to do. So Krishna was out there stealing the butter, and did I mention one of the other nights? I suspect I didn't. But why did I? Why Krishna was stealing the butter? No, that was in Durban a few days ago. We were talking about this. It's a very important and very interesting subject. Why did Krishna steal the butter? Is it just that he is, like you could say, some butter fanatic? He just has to have butter. Like in Durban, and I suspect here also to some degree, in Durban we have many, amongst the Indian community and amongst our devotee community, we have many bean fanatics. Oh, beans. Kidney beans, sugar beans, tiny beans, gadra, dubla, green beans, red beans, yellow beans, and others I'm sure I don't know the name of. But, sure, is it the same here or less so? It's the same. Are you a bean fan? Okay, anyway. So, in this case, it's just a matter that people just like, they just like it. And it's just, to them it tastes good. To others, you know, different people have different tastes, but this is how it works. It's just a question of personal taste. With Krishna, it is not really the same. After all, Krishna is fed so much, I mean, in the temples. There are how many thousand temples of Krishna I cannot begin to conceive, but there's really a lot. And in many of them, like all of our ISKCON temples, which have Radha Krishna deities, then Krishna there, like Radha Radhanath in Durban, Krishna is fed. 4 o'clock in the morning, many full cream milk sweets, many different varieties, and a few, maybe a couple of kilos. Can you imagine starting your day off with, 10 burfis, 10 sandeshes, 10 rasgullas, maybe half a litre of kheer, and some other things. 4 o'clock in the morning. Then breakfast time, it's puris and sabji and halava and fruit and milk. And I don't want to disturb anyone, but there will be prasadam later. But then at midday, Raj Bhoga. Wow. 3, 4, 5 sabjis, kachoris, chutney, 2 types of rice, 2 types of dal, and many other things. And I won't go on, but that's just, we're only halfway through. Can you imagine living like that? Talk about giving a boost to your cholesterol. It would be amazing. So it is not that Krishna is just a butter fan. But the thing is this, that the cows in Vrindavan, they're all devotees. They're not just dumb animals, just, don't know what's going on, and all they know to do is to just eat and lie down, and that's it, that's life. No, they're all pure devotees of the Lord, fully developed personalities. And even we'll see when we get to the Govardhan Leela, they speak. The cows at the end of the Govardhan Leela offered very beautiful prayers to Krishna. So they're special, special souls who descended to this world from the kingdom of God just out of their kindness to give their association. So they're great devotees, and they're thinking of Krishna always. The cows. And they love Krishna. And they are thinking, all those cows are thinking, we want Krishna to get our milk. This is just their constant meditation. We want Krishna to get our milk and all the different things that are made from our milk. In this way, all their love and devotion goes into their milk. And then they're milked by the ladies. Generally, they were milked by the ladies, and the ladies would then take the milk and make it into various different things. Yogurt, cream, and paneer, and then make all different things. Sweets, well, we mentioned sweets, like chum chum. Are you familiar with chum chum? Chum chum? No, you have not lived. So the ladies taking all this milk and making it into the different things, they were also just meditating, deeply absorbed. We wish Krishna would take all these things and eat them. And so all their love was going in. to these different milk products. So it was the cow's love, the lady's love, so much love. All those things were just completely saturated with love. Just like you know that there is nothing like home cooking, isn't it? I hope you know that. If it's home cooking versus Simba chips, sure. So yeah, at least cultured people, like the men when they go to work, they like to take their lunch with them, cooked with affection and love, and not just go to the cafeteria or the supermarket or something like that. So yes, so Krishna then, he was also aware that there were all these products and they are just full of love of his devotees who really wanted him to, they wanted to interact and actually offer their love to him. So Krishna, this is why Krishna would steal the butter and the yogurt. And sometimes he'd steal other things, but mainly butter and yogurt. Because he wanted to taste the love. And Krishna could eat butter. Krishna could eat butter, as they say, till the cows come home. Have you ever eaten butter straight? A quarter kilo. Did you ever do that? Just eat it. A block. Give it a try sometime. Well, no, don't give it a try sometime. People don't do that. And there's a reason why they don't do that. It's because, you know, it's just not the right thing to do. It's not really very good for you. It's just too fatty and rich and oily and so on. But Krishna was just eating the butter, as they say in Chatsworth, one way. He was just eating the butter because he wanted to taste the love of his devotees. But the thing is, the husbands of those ladies, they're trying to make a living with all these dairy products, trade them. They didn't sell them exactly, they would trade for vegetables and other whatever things that were required, cloth for clothes, and like this there was a process of trading which is a lot better than the artificial economic system we have today. Do you remember? I remember when I first arrived, like in South Africa 32 years ago, this one devotee told me his son just loves 1 cent sweets, 1 cent lollies. There was some type of sweet they called a 1 cent lolly, at least in Chatsworth. Now I believe the 1 cent lolly has become at least a 10 cent lolly, and maybe more. But it is the same lolly. It is just the same product. It's just the same. But because of this crazy economic system we have, now something which cost 1 cent costs 10, but it's actually the same thing. It's actually the same thing. And, you know, in Russia, back like, say 50 years ago, or 50, 60 years ago, people would work and be paid the equivalent 50 rubles a month, which is, at the time was the equivalent of $50. And they'd save up their whole lives and then retire with their little nest egg to live on. Then Russia became capitalist and everything fell to pieces. And now, those days there was one ruble per dollar. Now it is, well, by that standard, 30,000. They just knocked off 3 zeros. So if you look in the paper, you'll see 30, but actually it's 30,000. So people retired, and then suddenly they found their entire life savings could buy 1 liter of milk. Yeah, seriously. Or maybe 10 liters of milk maximum. So crazy economic system. I did a calculation. If you invest 1 rand and get 20% interest, which you won't, but just for the sake of the exercise, get 20% interest per annum compounding, and if you're not taxed, after 100 years, you know how much you'll have from your 1 rand? I forget the exact figure. I've got it on the computer actually. It's approximately 6 million rands. 6 million. So anyway, but they would trade 1 potato for 1 tomato. And 50 years later, you could trade 1 potato for 1 tomato. Same thing. But back in the old days, a kilo of potatoes was whatever it was, some cents, but now it's a good few rands. Anyway, that's perhaps a little side issue, but it's an interesting issue. So that's what they would do. So the husbands would get disturbed. Krishna came and stole all the butter. Now, how are we meant to make a living? It's transcendental because they're also great, great devotees. But just for the sake of the pastimes, they would become as if angry, a little disturbed like that, and chastise their wives that, what happened? And the wives would say, what can we do? It's Krishna. Because Krishna, the wives would have been happy. If Krishna came and said, I want some of your butter, they would have said, just take it. But if they actually gave it away and their husbands found out, then, there would have been serious marital problems. So in order to save the wives from this awkward situation and potentially quite unpleasant situation, Krishna stole the butter. It's not that he's really like a dishonest person, just trying to exploit people and be crooked, but in order to protect the wives so they wouldn't be chastised by their husbands, he would steal it. And then when the husbands came and in the evening said, okay, where's the butter? And the wives said, you won't believe it, Krishna stole it again. Then, they would not be in trouble. So this is what was happening. Krishna was doing that. And there's a famous story, it's in Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Krishna was doing this. And like we said, in terms of the pastimes, different moods arise. And sometimes moods which may appear to be, not so favorable towards Krishna, although they are really, but on the surface they appear not to be. So there was one elderly, not elderly, but just one adult gopi, cowherd lady. She had a young son, Krishna's age. And Krishna would come to her house and steal butter every day. And she became a little irritated. And she would try to catch Krishna. And, shout at him sometimes. Things like that. So one day she ambushed Krishna. And she caught Krishna. And she said, right, I'm taking you to your mother. And I'm going to just wait there and see her chastise you. You're going to get into big trouble, boy. And then she dragged Krishna, pulling him behind her, over to Mother Yashoda's house. On the way, Krishna transformed himself into the same form as her son. But she didn't know, because she's just pulling him behind her and just heading off down the road. So she didn't notice. She knocked on the door, and she said, Mother Yashoda came to the door, and she said, look, you see, I caught him. This time I caught him, and I want to see you chastise him. And Mother Yashoda looked and saw that lady's son. And she was wondering, now what's going on? What am I meant to do here? And she said, actually, I think there's some mistake here. Just have a look. And that lady looked and saw her own son. It was Krishna, but in the form of her son. And she was shocked. How could this happen? It's not possible. I saw it was Krishna. I caught him. I was right next to him. How can it be like this? So she apologized and just bewildered went home, pulling her son behind her. And on the way, Krishna changed back into Krishna form and pulled on her hand. Hey, lady. And she looked down. Oh no, it's Krishna. Am I going mad? And Krishna said, listen, lady, don't you do that again. You do that again, I'll change myself into your husband. Then you'll really look stupid. She never did it again. And sometimes, they would catch Krishna like that and take him to Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda would start wagging her finger at Krishna and telling him off while the other gopi was there. But they loved Krishna so much. They would see then Krishna, his head would go down and tears would start trickling down his cheeks. And those ladies would tell Mother Yashoda, don't speak to him like that. Be nice to him. He's a nice boy. And Mother Yashoda would say, but you just caught him stealing. You asked me to chastise him. And the lady would say, no, it's all right. Just be nice to him. He's a nice boy. And tell him he can come anytime. He can come anytime and have butter. So like this, butter pastimes. Many. There's so many. Krishna goes into the butter storehouse. There's a mirror there. In those days, they had mirrors. They didn't use them like we do. People walk down the streets looking in the shop windows. Half the time they're looking at their own reflections in the shop windows. It's really quite a mirror culture. But in those days, they didn't really use mirrors much. So there's Krishna in the butter storehouse, and suddenly, he's just sneaking along. And he just turned around. There's a mirror. He saw himself, but he didn't realize it was himself. And he said, quiet, quiet. Don't tell anyone. He said, I'll be your best friend. I'll share the butter with you. Don't tell anyone. So many butter pastimes. So anyway, on this day, the Diwali day, Mother Yashoda was churning the butter while breastfeeding Krishna at the same time, multitasking, and plus there was some milk on the stove just nearby, which she was bringing up to the boil in order to make something from it. Actually, it was for Krishna, hot milk for Krishna. So there she is breastfeeding Krishna and churning the yogurt into butter. And she just looked around, and what did she see? The milk was just starting to boil over. And, you know, milk is called liquid religiosity. You should not waste a drop of milk. Similarly, we should not waste a grain of rice. It's very bad. Very bad. So she didn't want the milk to get burnt and spoiled. So what did she do? She just dropped the churning rod and practically dropped Krishna. She just put him down just like that. She didn't say anything, nothing. Just suddenly, 1 second Krishna's happily being breastfed. Next second he's on the ground, abandoned. And his mother's just gone into the house. And Krishna got so upset. Krishna got really, really upset. Again, it's transcendental. It's not like, you know, we see children get upset, little children. They just, you know, they get upset a lot. So, you know, anyway, they get upset a lot. But now in this case, Krishna got apparently very upset. But it's just, again, part of the loving exchanges. So Krishna thought, Mother Yashoda is now inside. She picked up the pot of milk and took it away somewhere to do something with it. And there's Krishna on his own, on his back, and just feeling upset with his mother. Did you ever feel upset with your mother? You don't remember. Do you now? Ever? I see, okay. Such is life. What can you do? So Krishna decided he wanted to get revenge. So he picked up a rock. There's this big clay pot. Big, you know, like probably this high and maybe 20 liters or more, something like that, which was the yogurt in the process of being churned into butter. It was sort of halfway there. Krishna smashed the pot at the bottom. Out came 20 liters. Can you imagine, ladies? Of this partly yogurt, partly butter milk, and it's just, what a mess. What a mess. Then there were some pots, clay pots, suspended from the ceiling, and they had butter, yogurt, and different things in them. Krishna somehow cleverly climbed up on some things and smashed some of them. So now you've got, you know, maybe 100 liters of all these different dairy products just on the ground. What an incredible mess. And Krishna started eating the butter. And Krishna, he ate so much butter, he felt full. And the monkeys came, and Krishna started feeding the monkeys butter, until the monkeys could eat no more butter. And so Krishna's approaching the monkeys. Here, take some more. Have some more butter. And the monkeys are backing off. No, it's okay. Enough's enough. And back in came Mother Yashoda. And she saw this terrible mess. And the monkeys. And Krishna just covered in all these things. And he's now trying to feed the monkeys who are backing off. And then Krishna, he turned to Mother Yashoda. And because, don't forget, he was in a little angry mood. He turned to Mother Yashoda and said, look, your butter is so bad, even the monkeys won't eat it. And that was it. Mother Yashoda just felt, that's it. That's enough, he's gone too far. We have to deal with him strongly now. Yeah. There's an interesting point in the Bhagavatam. It's made by Jiva Goswami in his purport to one of the verses. That before Krishna started smashing things, he was sulking a little. And he went into like a little cupboard or a little corner out of the way. And the Bhagavatam says, like a very solitary little place, Bhagavatam says, Krishna just sat there for a little while crying because he's so upset with his mother. Jiva Goswami makes a very interesting point. That is that some people think that when Krishna appears in this world and he does his pastimes of so many different things, that Krishna is just acting. Just like an actor in a movie, in a drama. And, you know, you see like these prolific actors like Amitabh Bachchan. One movie he's a hero, next movie he's a villain, next movie he's a businessman, next movie he's, I don't know, some artist or... But he's none of those people. He's just acting. He's just acting. And he himself, he's a different person actually. Quite a different person from the apparent persons that he appears to be in the movies. So some people think that Krishna just acts. Because, you know, all these movie actors, they know they're acting. And they think, how can I do this, you know, so it has maximum effect. And it's all very conscious and deliberate. So some people think that Krishna, when he appears in this world, and he does all these pastimes, particularly in Vrindavan, these intimate, loving pastimes, some people think he's just acting. And he himself is thinking, well, I'm God, of course. I'm God. And I'm the source of everything. And I'm not, like in this case here, I'm not just a little 3-year-old child. But anyway, here's this devotee Yashoda. She thinks she's my mother. She thinks I'm her son. And I don't want to disappoint her because she's really nice. So I'll act like I'm her son. And then Krishna acts like a child. But Jiva Goswami makes the point that if Krishna was really acting, then in this particular instance where Mother Yashoda is somewhere deep in the house and he then goes to some solitary place, there's no one there, and he cries. So Jiva Goswami makes the point, this is proof Krishna's not acting. Because you only act for an audience, and there was no audience. Krishna actually felt like that in terms of the exchanges. So then, great chase scene. Mother Yashoda decided, that's it, he's gone too far. I have to discipline him and train him to become a good boy like TK and BK. I have to train Krishna to become an exemplary young boy. I can't let him get away with this. So she started chasing Krishna. But of course, Krishna, he is God. And who can catch God? No one can catch God. Some people like to say, if there's a God, show him to me. They may say, sort of, to space, come on, God, if you're there, appear in front of me. And when he doesn't, then they say, see, I just proved there's no God, because he didn't appear in front of him. But, Krishna, he's a big man. And he's a really big man. And like many other big men, they don't just have to come when they're called. Normally they do the calling. I read a joke a little while ago, well, a few years ago. There was a group of priests. It's a Christian joke, actually. Christian priests. And each one of them had a church, and they were the priests there. So they were talking about, what do you do with the donations you receive? And one of them said, oh, I give them all in. And another one said, well, I give half, I keep half for myself. And so they're talking about different formulae, how to deal with the donations. And one of them said that, you guys, what you're doing is not good. I give everything to God. Everything. He says, you know what I do? On Sunday when I make the collection in the church, I take all the money on a big tray, and then I go outside, and with the tray, I throw all the money into the air, and I shout out, take whatever you want, God. And whatever falls to the ground, I keep. Anyway. So yes, big chase scene. Mother Yashoda's chasing Krishna, but you can't catch God unless he is willing. You cannot. He's not just like some clever thief who's very difficult to catch. You actually can't catch him. In fact, there's no real question of catching Krishna. So Mother Yashoda was struggling. She's kind of, she's a mature woman, maybe like in her 30s or something like that, and a little heavily built. And she's running after this nimble little child who's just really quick, dodging this way, dodging that way, and Mother Yashoda, she couldn't manage. Then in her mind, she started thinking. First she's thinking, I must catch him. Then she started thinking after a little while, I don't think I can catch him. I mean, I've tried and tried, I'm getting tired. I don't think I'm going to be able to catch him. And then she started getting into anxiety. Oh no, if I don't catch him, what's going to happen to him? For his sake, I have to catch him, to correct him. For his benefit, I have to do it, for him. So her mood of motherly, loving concern just rose and increased within her heart, and more, until it just overflowed. And when it overflowed, it inundated Krishna. Krishna became overpowered, overcome, drowned by the love of Mother Yashoda. And then Krishna could not stop himself from being caught. So now there's Mother Yashoda and she has caught Krishna. So now what next? Some discipline, some disciplinary action. Like what? Well, she did not hit him. I don't know how it goes these days. But I know in the old days, sometimes parents would hit their children. And teachers at school, I think that's now illegal. But anyway, she didn't hit Krishna. She was thinking, okay, what can I do? I have to do something to discipline him and restrict him so he understands I've really done something wrong and I must not do it in the past, because if I do, there'll be these bad consequences. So she decided, right, I'll tie him up. So Mother Yashoda went and got some rope, put it around Krishna's waist, and it was, maybe a sort of a meter or meter and a half or something. And just little Krishna, he's only this size, 3 years old. She put the rope around Krishna's waist, and oh, amazing. It was 2 fingers too short. And she thought, how could that be? But then she thought, oh, well, okay, I'll just get some more. So she got some more. Now there's, maybe a couple of meters of rope or something. And she put it around Krishna's waist. It was 2 fingers too short. How is this? Anyway, it's all right. She got more rope. Now she had 5 meters of rope. But it was 2 fingers too short. And if 5 meters of rope will not go around your waist, you've been eating too much prasadam. So she got 10 meters, then 100, then a kilometer. It was always 2 fingers too short. And eventually she got all the rope from all the villages in Vrajmandala. It's a lot of rope. And it was 2 fingers too short. Couldn't go around Krishna once. How could that be? How could it be? Because, Krishna's like this size, this round, something like that. So how could this be? The thing is that even though Krishna apparently is these different dimensions, but he remains the supreme absolute truth, the source of everything, the summum bonum of everything, and everything is within him. It's a sort of optical illusion, or anyway, it's a special situation at least. So how much rope do you need to tie everything? You need a lot of rope. Yeah. So again, Mother Yashoda, seeing this predicament, again that mood of motherly concern just rose and increased and just overflowed. How am I going to do this? I have to help him. I have to help him to grow up properly. And again, Krishna became overpowered, and then the rope was long enough. And then even if she had had that much rope, it would have been enough, because Krishna just surrendered to her. So then, of course, the crucial thing really is that she tied him to a grinding mortar and then went off again to do some household duties. And then Krishna, tied to this big, heavy, grinding mortar, saw 2 Arjuna trees. They're big trees. And they're very They have very powerful root systems, Arjuna trees. They use them in Mauritius as windbreaks against the cyclones. Everything gets blown over except the Arjuna trees. So anyway, Krishna saw there are these two trees. They're really close to each other. And Krishna understood, actually they're demigods who have fallen and had to take birth as trees. Let me deliver them. So Krishna then crawled over, pulling the grinding mortar behind. The mortar got stuck against the two trees. Krishna went between them. Krishna kept crawling, and those trees collapsed, fell over, dragged over by Krishna with the grinding mortar, and they came crashing down. And out came these two demigods, Nala Kuvara and Manigriva, sons of Kuvera. This is where the Anatha comes in. The Anatha was, we said, becoming proud and bewildered and proud because of having some material opulence. So they were sons of Kuvera, who's the treasurer of the demigods, and extremely affluent. Extremely affluent. So they were his sons. But because they had so much wealth at their disposal, they had become deeply affected by it. And they really thought they were someone, and everybody else was no one. And we are just the tops. We are cool. We are super cool. Look at us. And everyone else, bunch of plebs. So what happened was, one day, they were swimming naked in a lake there, just near the palace, with some young women who were also naked. And who should come by but the great sage Narada Muni, great saintly personality. And he looked over and he saw this scene. Here these they're actually demigods, in fact, these young demigods. And they saw Narada Muni. And Narada Muni thought, what are they doing? They're good boys from a good family, and they've just become crazy. The girls who were there, they also saw Narada Muni. They immediately covered themselves. But not Nala Kuvara and Manigriva. They were just having a boisterous time, roaring with laughter, drinking liquor. And they saw Narada Muni, but they didn't care. Oh, who needs Narada Muni? We're having a good time. So Narada, same idea. Narada thought, I have to correct these boys for their own good. So Narada cursed them to become trees. You want to be naked in public? Okay, become trees. You can be naked 24 hours a day, any time, and in any weather. You will be, you must be, and just see what it's like. Narada, before he cursed them, he thought, what is the right thing? What will help these boys? And he understood, what will help them is poverty. They need to feel poverty. When one has a lot of money, it happens, not in every case, but it certainly happens sometimes with some people. Then you see that the poor people and the suffering people and in the streets and in the shacks and things. And you just think, look at these stupid, dirty people, just, who needs them? They're not even real people. So one may think like that. Some people, they definitely do think like that. In order to appreciate how other people are suffering, if someone is particularly sick or poverty-stricken or has some disability, in order to really understand what it really means, you have to experience it. We just today, we went to the hospital. Do you remember 2 years ago? I was in the hospital. Just a matter of days, more than 2 years ago. We went back to the same hospital today to see Purushottam Krishna's mother. And I was remembering what it was like. What an experience. And when I came out after that, then whenever I'd see some person, old person, somewhat crippled person, struggling down the road, then I felt for them. I felt for them because I felt, at least to some degree, what they were actually feeling. So Narada felt they have to go through this. They don't understand the value of their wealth. They think it's just, like a toy, something just for us to have a good time with. They don't understand the responsibility that comes with it. So let them learn through having a position of poverty. And Narada thought, he thought some very interesting things. Narada thought, if a person thinks that this body is me, well, of course, they're completely bewildered because we're not these bodies. But if a person then, who knows that I'm not this body, if such a person still thinks this body is mine to do with as I choose, this person is a rascal, Narada Muni says. Because, he says, it is so clear our bodies do not belong to us. And he gives some examples. For example, when you're a child, then your body belongs to your parents. And your parents, they dress you as they like. They feed you as they like. They take you where you like. And sometimes they don't let you go somewhere. So your body belongs to your parents. And then you grow up and you start working. And then your body, or when you're at school, your body belongs to the teacher. The teacher says ABC, and you have to say ABC. So your body then belongs to your teacher. When you work, your body belongs to the boss. You have to do this, you have to do that, and you have to do these things. And you cannot say, well, I just, I don't feel like it. So then your body belongs to your boss. And then your body belongs to your family. Your family needs so much money. So you have to go out and work and bring all the money and give it to them. And then finally, at the end, your body dies. And it either just turns to smoke if it's burnt, turns to ashes, or if it's buried in the ground, it gets eaten by little creatures. So Narada Muni says, understanding all these facts, anybody who thinks this body is mine and therefore I can do with it as I choose, they're rascals. Because it's so clear that this body is not really mine. So therefore he cursed them. And he thought that If a person's in poverty, it's very austere, sometimes sleeping on the ground. Sometimes you have no food for a couple of days or more. Sometimes no clothes. When it's hot, you're hot. When it's cold, you're cold. So it's great austerity, and Prabhupada actually explains, in this way, a person who's poverty-stricken performs activities which in certain respects, in principle, are like the activities of certain yogis and tapasvis, people who voluntarily accept austerity. Some people do that. They're wealthy, they leave home. They have a big house, they go and live under a tree as an austerity for their spiritual development. So Prabhupada makes the point that someone who is forced to do these austerities, no eating, sometimes no sleeping, etc., they may get the same pious results as the person who voluntarily performs austerity, even though he doesn't have to, but he wants to do it for his personal development. So he cursed them that you become trees. And then they fell at his feet and said, please forgive us. They started to understand. And he said, actually, I cannot withdraw the curse now, but I will add a little bit. In the future, when Krishna appears, he will deliver you. So this is exactly what happened. And Krishna, when he was there just before he dragged the mortar between the trees, Krishna remembered, oh yeah, these are those two demigods, cursed by Narada, my devotee. So now I must deliver them to make the words of my devotee true. So he knocked those trees down, the demigods came out and they offered nice prayers. And Krishna offered them a nice benediction. Just let me read the benediction. What did he say? Krishna said that O Nalakuva and Manigriva, now you may both return home. Means to the heavenly planets, actually. Since you desire to be always absorbed in my devotional service, your desire to develop love and affection for me will be fulfilled. And now you will never fall from that platform. Isn't that a nice benediction from Krishna? Now you will never fall, and then you'll go back to Godhead. So, yes, it's very amazing pastime. And a devotee raises the question, seeing, Nalakuva and Manigriva are there, they're demigods. There's little Krishna, he's still tied up. And he's still tied to the grinding mortar. He's restricted. Why didn't they just untie him? The answer to that question is, they couldn't. They tried. They couldn't. Because Krishna was not just tied, he was tied by the love of Mother Yashoda. And nobody else is powerful enough. Other than Srimati Radharani and a few others. Otherwise, no one else is strong enough to untie that knot. So devotee offers a prayer that you, Krishna, you are so powerful that by the ropes of your external energy, the gunas, guna means rope, the ropes of the three modes, you have all living entities tied up in this world, and they cannot escape. They cannot escape. You are that powerful. But still, see, Mother Yashoda tied you up, and you could not get free until she came and released you. So how powerful is Mother Yashoda? That's inconceivable. Completely inconceivable. How powerful is Mother Yashoda? So anyway, from this we should learn, of course, the obvious lesson of not being attached to our small wealth. Whatever wealth we have, devotees, it really is pretty small. You know, you might have 1 million rands in the bank, seriously. You might have 10 or 15. It's quite possible or even likely in some of your cases. You know, successful people who have worked all your lives. So you might have some millions of rands invested somewhere. But, like we said, when the Yamadutas come, what are you going to do? Ask them, okay, what's your price? How much do you want to let me go? There is no such price. There's no such price. So, Queen Kunti prays in 1st Canto chapter 8, her prayers, verse 26. Janmaishvarya Shruta Shribir, Edamana Madapuman, Naivarhat Yabidatam Vai, Twam Akinchana Gocharam. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. So of course, you know, we're not suggesting that everybody should just give up everything like that. But definitely we should try and use our assets in meaningful ways in Krishna's service. And then they're real assets. Like, it's a real investment, because whatever we give to Krishna, then in the future we will get unlimited times back. Maybe some opulence, but actually the greatest opulence to go back home, back to Godhead. Yeah. Because even if you have millions and billions and zillions of rands, it can't really help you that much. You know, one thing I've realized after 61 years of living, you can only sit in one chair at a time. You can only sit in one house at a time. You can only sit in one motor car at a time. You can only eat so much. And when you get to this age, well, I'm on the no salt diet now. So all these things start backfiring on you. But if we make that investment of seeing that our resources, at least some, you know, reasonable, substantial amount is really used in Krishna's service, then it's a great investment for our eternal future. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sat Bhajay. So I think now, if it's okay, we will have Arati. Is that okay? Any comments or questions from any of you very intelligent and nice devotees? Agreements, disagreements? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
So now actually we will have arati, so everyone can stand up for that.